resistance to slam poetry and all that. A lot of people don't think it's real poetry and this and that, and that's only because it hasn't been institutionalized. It's because we're only starting to see lots of books being written about it and workshops and classes, and so that's, you know, the things that people don't like. It's only based on the fact that it's not in any way regulated, and I'm not saying that it should be regulated, but the only way it's going to get better as a genre is if we begin to take it apart, deconstruct it, look at it, and talk about it in a positive way. I mean, it's clearly something that people do. It's clearly popular. It clearly is a really important tool to help young people discover their passion for something. And so, what I'm interested in is treating it like any other pursuit. You know.
Yeah. When you think about, like, you know, Jackson Pollock and the reaction to his work when, you know, they looked at these paintings of these splotches of color, and it looked like, you know, some people thought it looked like a kid did it. Some people thought, oh, this is totally innovative and it's beautiful, and I see where he's going with this. And
I actually write about Pollock quite a bit.
Do you
Pollock
really?
And Basquiat, yeah, a lot. Just in I've never been able to make the analogies work in any good way. I do it rather sloppily, but he's a big hero of mine, or his work is a big hero of mine, just because of that idea of chaos, but controlling it, and sort of the negotiation between the limits. You know, like he would always say, like, you know, there's no limits, only boundaries, you know. And so that was like his idea of the canvas. Like, if he had a big enough canvas, he'd just keep
going. Right. And that's kind of the metaphor of taking this wide range of thoughts you might have on a subject, like your piece on race, you know, your preface, and I mean, these are all the things that we think about all the time that go through our heads as we're just trying to name something.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah.
And then what you did is you just took it and you just put it right there. You said, all right, I'm going to itemize this. I'm going to make everybody look at this. I'm going to make them look at their thought process. And I love that piece because, super honest, it kind of makes you a little uncomfortable.
It shouldn't. It's funny. I mean, you know.
Well, that's what I like about it, though. Yeah.
My you know, a friend of mine was saying that you know, William Ayers, who's we all know who William Ayers is, but he was saying that you know, like, right now we need more what do you say, more drama and satire and comedy. Like, that's the only way to handle these issues that really make us uncomfortable, that make us angry, is with drama and satire and you know, humor. You know. Right.
So we've talked a lot about your work and about the way you look at the world through your work. But, you know, where are you from originally?
I'm originally from the Detroit area. Detroit, Michigan, and a surrounding suburb where the Pistons play. Yeah, moved to Chicago when I turned 18. Lived there for a long time. Learned how to do everything there. Really came of age there. And then I moved to New Mexico. My wife and I lived in New Mexico for a little under 2 years, and then we came here.
When you were living in Chicago, and I know you were playing some music with the hip hop group, and you're doing your thing, and I know that for you there was a kind of a point where you started working for the social service agency, and it kind of opened your eyes that, hey, maybe my music can be saying more. Maybe.
Yeah. I was I was in my early 20s, and I was, you know, looking for outlets, and I had all this steam to blow off, and I met all these other cats, and we formed a group, and we would play house parties and dive bars, and, you know, it was really about me and what I had to say and all this kind of stuff. And I got this job tutoring at a refugee resettlement agency, and a lot of these kids were coming from Africa and war-torn places, and you know, what they knew about hip-hop was kind of disturbing to me. And I found, you know, they were like, oh, you're a rapper, and they would want to hear my stuff, and I was like, I can't really play my stuff because it's no different. You know, I wasn't gangsta, but I was also not saying anything, really. I mean, you know, and so
maybe you were working out some of your skills with rhyming and rhythm, and
I wasn't aware that. I guess not even so much that I wasn't aware. I just didn't feel like I had anything to say because I was like, I'm not an expert on social issues. You know, I didn't think I was. I was just like, that's some PhD person's pursuit. That's not what I do. And but then I kind of realized that, you know, a lot of things that I was feeling and that I knew just from coming up, you know, as an African American, and things that I was feeling were being echoed by a lot of other people, you know. And so I started kind of exploring that possibility in my music. And I used to have a nom de plume, and I just started going by my name. And it's a gradual progression too of you start out being maybe like 80% some other version of yourself and 20% yourself, and slowly that ratio gets closer and closer, or shifts, the more I kind of worked in social service and education and all that, the more I started realizing that you got having people's attention and having the opportunity to impact somebody's life is a privilege, and music is one of the best ways to do that. That's the way I can do that, and so why not try to write about something actual versus something that isn't actual,
Right. A lot of hip hop music, focuses in on, I should say popular hip hop music, the stuff you're going to like see on MTV too. It seems like nobody's performing under their real name. Hardly anybody is, and a lot of these guys are talking about things that some people are going to connect with, and other people aren't. And so, what do you say to these kids who they're growing up in Iowa City and their life isn't exactly like
Gucci Mane's?
Like Gucci Mane's life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, would you say to them, use your real name, talk about what you know,
I mean, it's the thing about it is what a lot of people don't realize, which is really unfortunate, is that the people who decide who gets broadcast to the public,
who gets super famous,
right, basically, many of them are not actually really aware of the culture or what it's about, really. Before hip hop ever made a record, before there was ever such thing as a rap record, and it was just this localized phenomenon, it was really about something different than what's being projected now. I know I sound like an old timer, like when it started, but I do feel like that culture, the idea of a culture, is still very prevalent. You know what I mean? And there is the sort of mainstream culture, but there's also this prevailing hip hop sentiment that has a different set of tenets and norms and mores that are much more sort of progressive and inclusive and democratic. And I think that the people who are promoting and putting money behind and sponsoring and co-signing artists that only project the negative aspects, and these are real aspects. Like, you can't deny, we can't deny the fact that there's a lot of individuals that come from a certain situation that have so much negativity in their lives that's what they say. So that we can't ignore that. However, it is problematic when you're only showing one thing. Right. Where is the variety? What's unfortunate is in the Tupac era, you would have Tupac there was the whole spectrum. So Tupac has tracks like Keep Your Head Up and Dear Mama, and he has tracks that criticize government and authority, and then he's just got his good old-fashioned thug songs. You know what I mean? Yeah. But you see the spectrum that even though he's someone from a certain situation, or he's coming at it from a particular point of view, he's still a person, a full person. Right. And what you're not seeing now is that full spectrum. It's purely just hedonism and debauchery, and there's always that in every form of music. But in other forms of music, there's a variety. They show a range. So obviously, in all forms of music, I think it comes down to ultimately whether or not you're going to be a smart consumer or not. And that's across the board for food, clothes, shelter, anything. If you're going to spend your money on something, you need to be smart about what you're putting into yourself, Right. And
and some of the subject matter that you choose to talk about. I mean, you talk about what kids are eating in school in your work. I mean, when was the last time you turned on the radio and you heard a rapper talking about, God, our kids are really eating terrible food in our school system?
I'm glad, because that that sets me apart from the herd. You know what I mean? No.
And it's you talking about what you know and what you care about. Right. And I love that piece too, because you're sitting in the school system, you're watching these kids bouncing off the walls after they eat this terrible food, and you're saying to yourself, there's got to be a better way.
Yeah.
Now here you are in Iowa, where we should be eating our local our local food, you know. We're
I
not,
love it here.
We're not. We're working